Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Skyblock Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm having a great one. We are back here in the Skyblock world and the iron farm is once again happening. It's producing iron golems now quite comfortably, and I have set up a little path down here so that I can just take a quick ladder down to the collection area and we can see precisely how much iron we have gathered since the last episode. I haven't been in this world all that much, but in this chest here, oh, there it is. Yeah, we've got several stacks in here already, plus a couple of stacks of poppies. Yay, we got the goal. We actually got a goal for that. Iron golem farm indeed. Collect a stack of iron by making an iron golem farm. Well, in here, we also have a little bit more thanks to the fact that sometimes iron will get stuck on that campfire. It goes down into the hoppers, and I guess I had another collection chest in there just to make sure that wasn't going to happen. And in this case, we have two chests that we could potentially funnel into one catchment area if we wanted to, now that we have the option to make more hoppers. But today we're going to make hoppers for a different purpose, and that is remodeling our hostile mob farm a little bit, using a few more campfires, I think, since they have been so successful at dispatching these iron golems. I think it makes a lot of sense to use those in a hostile mob farm, not least because campfires are relatively thin. Making sure that we can put those down at the bottom of the world, we should hopefully be able to siphon a bunch of hostile mobs into it, and that will be a pretty effective farm. But first of all, I'm going to make myself all the hoppers I could possibly want. There we go, 16. Actually, I need a lot more than that eventually, but for now, 16 hoppers will do, and what a fantastic investment for all of our fresh new iron. I also have a decent amount of ingots already stashed in this chest here, so look at that. We have a couple of stacks of iron left. Perfect. We'll be using that to great effect later. I think we'll probably make a few pistons and things like that. We can automate so much of our farming operation around here, but I think it's time to get started on another hostile mob farm. And we can repurpose the hostile mob farm that we have down here already, or alternatively, we could repurpose the Husk farm that we have over there and get sand as a result of this. I kind of want to do the sand thing, even though that one over there is quite a distance away, and we could effectively be within hostile mob spawning range of this platform. Oh, decisions. You know what though, folks? I think we've got the iron. We can probably do both. So in the fullness of time, we'll probably return to the Husk farm and make sure we can farm a decent amount of sand. But for now, with all of this charcoal and some of the remaining planks that we have in here, we can make ourselves a couple of campfires. And as I mentioned in the last episode, the advantage of campfires over magma blocks is that campfires are not a full block, so you can still extract items through them using a hopper, whereas with magma blocks you would have to have a hopper minecart to get the items through the magma. However, it is kind of a toss-up between campfires and magma blocks to make a hostile mob farm, the main reason being light level, because campfires are obviously going to produce a light level of 15, meaning you'll have to have them at least 8 blocks away from anywhere you want mobs spawning, whereas magma blocks, and I believe this is still the case, end up basically mimicking the light level of the last light source they came into contact with, which in the case of the overworld is actually skylight typically, but you will end up, if you put them in an enclosed space, having them dwindle down to a light level of 0, which makes them a little bit better for small hostile mob farms. However, I think we're probably going to stick with campfires and just have water streams propelling the mobs away into the campfires anyway. But the cool thing is, both systems are going to be compact enough that we can take advantage of the massive spawning rates we're going to get while we are down at the level of the void, or close enough. We're probably going to have to hike it up a couple of blocks just so we can account for the mobs falling into water streams and then landing on the campfires and having room for the hoppers to dispatch the items from there, but it's going to be a fairly steady stream of stuff, and I'm pretty sure that whatever the spawning rates are down there, they are going to be enough for our purposes. Of course, we could also now make an etho hopper clock, because we have enough quartz for a couple of comparators, we have enough redstone, we have the hoppers. That's basically all we need. So I think we'll probably throw one of those together simply because we can. It's a little bit expensive, and there are better clocks that you can make if you are short on resources in survival, but today I feel like splashing out. So there we go, we've got our 2 redstone comparators, we've got 2 hoppers, we'll need 2 redstone dust as well, and we'll need a stack of items, but items are easy enough to come by. I guess we could throw in a stack of kelp or a stack of sticks or whatever we want to at this point. We're also going to need 2 sticky pistons for that, so I'll make those up real fast. Let's find the sticky piston, there we go, and I'm also going to make a couple of dispensers so we can dispense buckets of water. Now we have an iron farm, water buckets are easily at our disposal. Wonderful. Okay, I have temporarily bridged the gap over to the mob spawning platform. We're going to throw a couple of torches down here, which will not stop slimes from spawning in the meantime, but hopefully we'll be working close enough to this that they're not really going to spawn all that much anyway. And to be fair, I could use a little bit of slime right now, so I'm not going to complain. What we're going to do is bridge the gap here with these two chests. We're going to set up a third chest alongside this as well, and this area here is just going to be hoppers with campfires on top of them. So in this case, we'll probably put a bunch of hoppers just heading into a single chest in the center for now, maybe, and then on top of that we can put some campfires, and then later on we'll come along with a third chest if we need the storage space. But right now we can lay all that storage at the bottom of the void here, and in front of these we can put stairs to make sure that we can still open the chests, but it actually blocks out the light from inside the farm here. This whole section is going to be comprised of water streams which are going to feed the mobs down to the campfires, but right now they are going to have to be one block up from that to make sure that the mobs get directed into the campfires at the very end. So once again, we are going to have to lift this up a single block, and that's going to potentially lower the spawn rate from being super fast, like at the level of the void, to maybe half that, but that's still very, very fast. And having set up a water stream in here, the mobs are just going to be funneled down into the water streams, land on top of the campfires, take damage until they die, and all their drops are going to end up in the chest. Behind this, on this level, so at y equals 3, I guess, is where we're going to build our new mob spawning platform, and I wonder if that means we're going to be outside of the slime chunk over there. Most of it is going to be, and that is a good thing, because while slimes will wander into this trap, we're probably going to find that they will take up the mob cap just by bouncing around a whole bunch inside of here. So ideally we want to create an environment where as few slimes are going to spawn as possible. The other concern, of course, is spiders, which will potentially climb up the walls of this and not really drop down into the water stream to be carried down here. But if their pathfinding takes effect, hopefully they will still end up in this general area, and then if we want to, we can put some water at the height of these two blocks here, and the spiders climbing the wall will find themselves inside the water, which will probably just be held back by signs or trapdoors or something like that, and that should allow them to simply drown in there. The string will fall into the hoppers, and we'll be able to harvest the drops from the spiders as well. I don't want to lose the fact that this spawning pad is in a slime chunk, though, because we might be able to turn that into a pretty productive slime farm a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do is collect up all the slabs from over the top here, and probably just slab this entire platform, making sure that we know where the chunk ends, and that way we should be able to remember where the slime farm is going to be, and the whole thing should be spawn proofed, allowing us to spawn mobs in this new mob spawning area over here. Once again, slimes will spawn in any light levels, so we basically need to make sure this entire thing is spawn proofed using slabs, and it's not even enough just to expose it to the open air, because I'm pretty sure slimes will spawn in daylight as well. So yeah, it's probably a good idea just to make sure this entire thing is slabbed off, and I just need a couple more slabs to complete the deal. We'll remove this walkway that heads out here as well, and probably repurpose some of the cobblestone here for the mob farm itself, but nice to know that that pad there is there when we want it. Been recording for about 15 minutes now, I would estimate. Let's quickly check in on the iron farm. Looks like it's still going. I wonder how much iron we've accumulated since the time where I've started recording. Yep, that's another stack and a half. We probably have a decent amount in there as well. Wow, okay, over 2 stacks. Like I said, those 3 villagers in that single cell there is really all you need. So we now have 2 dispensers in place at the end of this little room, and believe me, this little room will be enough to spawn a decent amount of mobs. Now, I have had to make a quick adjustment here because, unfortunately, the 2 water streams coming from those dispensers, of course, didn't end up meeting in the middle, and a third dispenser there might fix that, but I think it kind of makes sense just to have the 2 dispensers on either side, have everything funnel down into the central point here instead of risk the stuff getting stuck on the sides, which meant moving the set of hoppers back a little bit. And once we end up putting the campfires on top of here, I think that will still work out quite nicely. Everything still outputs those chests, and the advantage, of course, is that I don't have to worry about putting stairs in front of this. But yeah, right now we have a little grid of hoppers down here, which is still going to collect the drops of any mobs that end up walking their way in here. So the next step is going to be to set up the hopper clock over here, which is going to be a nice straightforward thing. We've made these in the series many a time, or at least in the survival guide series we have. The 2 hoppers are going to be facing each other in the center here. There's going to be comparators detecting the contents of those hoppers on either side, and then we need to go and grab some redstone for the redstone dust dots that are going to be on top of each of these. We want sticky piston there and a sticky piston there with a redstone block between them, but that's the last thing we're going to add once we have the redstone dust in place. And I'm also getting to the point where I kind of need to improve my cobblestone generator at some point because I'm running out of cobblestone to build all of this stuff with. Okay, the redstone dots are in place. We need to pop a block of redstone in between these two, and once we get some items going on in here, which, yes, I know I just complained about not having enough cobblestone, but I think it's probably going to be cobblestone. Now we can just set up an observer to detect every time the redstone block gets moved around. Yeah, might need to be slightly slower than that. Let's say 26, maybe 30-something blocks. Yeah, there we go. That should be enough. I think that was 38. I don't really need to track that all that much. But yeah, we should just be able to set up an observer on here. That's going to pulse every time this changes position, and it should feed a redstone signal into 2 blocks behind the dispensers like so. We are going to have to light all of this up, though, to make sure that it isn't going to spawn mobs behind here, because some of these count as solid blocks, of course. But now, hopefully, every time that changes, yep, it should tick that, and the dispensers just dispensed their buckets of water that they had in them. Now they should retract the water sources that are here, leaving this platform completely dry. Perfect. That sets up the room for spawning, which right now, obviously, it won't do because it's open to the air and there are torches everywhere, but we need to remove the torches. We need to get a wall and a roof built on this thing, and now we should be able to have an active mob spawner. One last precaution I'm going to take is to make the roof out of slabs so it doesn't spawn anything, and also make the room 2 blocks tall, because I don't really want Endermen spawning in here. They're not going to be affected positively by the water anyway. They're just going to teleport somewhere else. I don't really feel like having Endermen jump out at me at a moment's notice, but now we should be able to fill this entire thing up. We'll need to make sure that there is a little bit of headroom for the mobs to get into the water stream, but once they're in here, we should have a nice easy time of getting them all down into this area at the end. And that's where we're going to put our campfires in just a second, once I've been able to get some campfires together. Let's just do a quick check down the end here. We are still seeing some skylight coming from the end here, but I think the rest of this should be fine. In terms of block light, we're seeing absolutely nothing. It looks kind of light around the edges there, but that is really just the visual lighting glitch of these slabs. I am, by the way, running the preview version of Optifine, which might even be out at the time of this recording going out, but yeah, for now I'm just using a preview version of Optifine, so there might be the occasional lighting glitch still happening. That shouldn't be a problem, though. We can take out this torch here, and at the end here we're going to place our campfires. For now, I think I'll just put 6 of them in a kind of horseshoe shape like that, with another one there, and hopefully no mobs should make their way into these corners. If they do, though, we just need to fill in those last 2 corners with the campfires, and we're good to go. Let's grab the blocks that I've broken that fell into the water stream, and for all I can tell, that should be enough. It's not a particularly attractive mob spawner design, but it seems to be doing the job, and those dispensers should be dispensing water onto that platform any minute. So I'm going to head out of the way. I'm going to try and wait for some mobs to get caught up in the water stream, and we'll come back and see if we have any mob drops in the system. Okay, I spent a little bit of time standing around here overnight, and as you can hear, the mob farm is actually doing incredibly well so far. I did get a few drops in the chests already. This was just a single, maybe, 8-minute stretch of the night. And the one change I need to make in here is simply to add another campfire to the collection area at the end here, so that we can hopefully make sure that those corners get taken care of as well. But natural mob pathfinding is usually going to take care of that, because the mobs are just going to want to wander around. A couple of observations of this. So far, it seems to be producing one heck of a lot of bats. Thank you, Optifine Zoom. And also, we're not going to be able to harvest witch mob drops from here, because witches, unfortunately, are immune to fire damage. Or they're not technically immune to fire damage, but they will quickly drink a potion of fire resistance, which is going to make them immune to fire, lava, and basically anything else you can throw at them aside from the player's sword. So that is an unfortunate side effect. However, the only drop I would really be interested in getting from witches at this point in time is going to be redstone, and I can already trade redstone for emeralds with my clerics, so I don't really need to worry too much about witches. Once I get a certain distance away from the farm, they will have a chance to despawn anyway, so in the meantime, I can AFK safe in the knowledge that if a witch does spawn in here, which is going to be incredibly rare, I don't really need to worry too much about their health and well-being. In the meantime, got myself 15 gravel in that chest, 16 gravel total, not bad for a bit of an overnight stretch, and with a bit of AFK time, I'm sure this thing would produce bucket loads of mob drops, more than we would realistically need. Although, having said that, a little bit of extra rotten flesh to trade with the cleric villagers, a bit of string to trade with the Fletchers, not going to be such a bad thing after all. And I will need to start stockpiling on arrows, because at some point we're going to have to fight the Ender Dragon, and I don't have an infinity amiibo yet, so that's going to be a little while in the making. And I'm actually going to do the same over here with the Husk platform. Sorry about the flickering horizon, not really a huge amount I can do about that, unfortunately. But yeah, this platform here can probably be moved a little bit lower down now that we can use campfires and hoppers to kill the husks and collect the drops. Although this is going to be a general mob spawning platform as well, so I guess we'll only AFK over here when we want the sand, because the general mobs over there are going to be a lot more convenient for us to gather. The added complication with this farm, of course, being that it has to be open to the sky, because husks will not spawn if there is a block above them when the spawning attempt is made. And so I think we can still move this platform down a little bit lower to take advantage of the lower rates that we'll get as the game calculates spawns from the bottom of the world upwards, but we are still going to have to leave room for some sort of clock that's going to power the dispenser in the center, and then all of that can be washed down into a central area where some campfires will be burning the husks and collecting their drops. So I think if we build up from this central point here, we'll probably need 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to say 5 blocks of headroom, because we'll need a little bit of room to build a redstone clock underneath this to power the dispenser regularly, so we don't have to use the tripwire hook method anymore. So I think about there is where we're going to build our new platform. And we're going to take away this platform, but we're going to rebuild it a little bit further down in the world. Now that we have hoppers that we can collect the items with, that's going to be effective. And I think this pretty well fit inside the boundary of the desert biome. I think any further or a different shape and we would probably end up running into areas which were outside of the desert biome, which aren't really useful to us, because all we really want from this farm is husks. The rest of the stuff in it is just a bonus. Actually, maybe I'll give myself one more block of headroom there and have the platform start on this point, because otherwise we're not going to have room for the hoppers and the campfires down below here. Let's collect up all this cobblestone though. Nice to get all of that back. And I think in this case we're going to create a 3x3 area of hoppers in the middle, just to account for the fact that spiders are going to be spawning in this farm too. We don't want a small area, and that's hoppers at the level of the void, campfires on top of that, and all of the hoppers are going to chain out to an area over here where we can collect the drops. Our dispenser of water is going to go in the middle there, of course, and then we need to count 7 blocks out from each side of that. And of course we'll need the collection area to be a little bit wider than that, so that we can have water streams dropping the mobs into the area with the campfires. So this is actually going to be quite a significant rebuild of the platform we have down here. I'm going to need to light it up as I go to make sure mobs don't spawn while I'm away. Actually, thinking about it, it's going to make a lot more sense to use top half slabs for this, because I'm doubling the amount of material that I can save here. There we go. Let's make this whole thing out of slabs. It's not going to be something they can escape anyway. So having finally put together enough cobblestone that we can make this platform with all of the water streams, and absolutely this section of the farm in the corners is not necessary for the design because they're not going to get that far out anyway, but it's just so I know how to direct the water streams really. We have finally got a catchment area for this farm, and I'm fairly certain that the light from the campfires is not going to reach the top level of the farm, and all of the blocks around the top here are topped off with slabs so that they will not end up producing any mobs and messing up the rates of the farm. Now, the next thing is really going to be to trigger that dispenser on an even cycle, and I have built this farm a little bit too low to build a hopper clock, because a hopper clock would be 3 blocks deep. You got to have the top block that's got the pistons and the redstone block attached to it. You got to have the block underneath that that's got the hoppers and the comparators, and you got to have something for the comparators to sit on, meaning that if anything ended up colliding with this, the farm would get stopped, basically, because all of the mobs would end up behind this block. And they might shift around in the water streams, but I think it's probably going to be for the best that we build a 2-block high clock inside of here. We could move the platform up 1 block, but I think it's actually going to be a more fun solution to build a 2-block high clock in here, not least because we get to take advantage of a mechanic that people have been yelling at me to do since I started a Husk farm, but I didn't want to do because I knew some other folks in Skyblock series had done it, and I didn't want to feel like I was just poaching their technique. But instead, now that we have the option of building basically any kind of clock we want, I think it's probably time we built a boat clock. Now, to start off our boat clock, we need to build a 7x3 platform with the dispenser centered along the 7-block side, but off to one side as far as the 3-block side goes. So it's actually going to come out to here, like so. This is going to make a little bit more sense when I show you it from the top. I just want to get all of the smoke out of the way first. So underneath the dispenser, we're going to place a wooden pressure plate. On this 7x3 platform, we're also going to be placing 4 trapdoors, 2 there and 2 there, which aren't going to be activated by this in any way. They are just there to stop water from flowing around the rest of this area, because we're actually going to have 2 streams of water, one starting here and one starting here, that are going to carry a boat around, and the boat is going to float over this pressure plate and be carried over into the next water stream, activating the dispenser on a relatively slow cycle. On the opposite side here, to block the water, we're going to put a stone pressure plate, which has no real function other than blocking the water streams. It's not going to activate anything, and the boat won't even activate the pressure plate when it rolls over it, because pressure plates made of stone are only affected by players. Now we're going to build an outer wall around the outside here just to make sure that this whole thing is closed off and water doesn't leak out and interfere with the water streams that we have down below. This shouldn't affect any of the mobs coming in. This should be too high for the mobs to hit their heads on, and there we go. So now this whole area is closed off, and I need one more water source, so let me go and grab that real quick. So the way we're going to set this up is to have one water stream starting there, right behind that wooden pressure plate, and we want another water source starting there behind the stone pressure plate. You'll notice the pressure plates themselves aren't affected by the water, and you could do something like this with an armor stand as well, except the armor stand would just grind to a stop there. However, when we place a boat in this water stream, which we should be able to do, yep, there we go, the boat's hitbox, if I press F3 and B, is actually large enough that it's going to roll into the next water stream while it's still being pushed by the last one, and that is what allows the dispenser to fire every single time it rolls over that pressure plate, but the boat to keep on going. And as you can see, this is actually quite a slow clock. Oh no. Oh no, I hope there aren't any creepers spawned in the world, because I do not feel like handling a thunderstorm right now. Joke's on you, Minecraft, I have a bed. I guess I might as well place this now and sleep through the storm so I don't have to deal with that. Good, okay, and as you can see, the boat clock is still going strong. Now, I should just be able to place a bucket of water inside of the dispenser here, and the dispenser will now put out water every time the boat flows over that pressure plate. And I can cover the rest of this up, grab myself a bucket of water, and we are good to go. So now we've covered that over, let's just quickly show you the farm in action. I'm going to place a dispenser in there, and hopefully when the boat cycles around for the next time, that should activate the dispenser, dispensing all of the water so it flows out to the edges of this platform. There we go, dispenser fires, and everything flows out to the sides, and everything ends up falling off the platform and into this water tank, where, as you can see, even if it's bobbing up and down in the water here, it should have an easy enough time getting underneath this section of the platform. We could also make this section of the platform out of slabs if we wanted a slightly higher headroom here. But for now, that's basically everything about this revised Husk farm figured out, except for where I'm going to stand and where the storage is going to output, because right now all of the hoppers are just chained to this block here, and I don't have any kind of storage chest for them. I was thinking about maybe moving this whole AFK platform back so that I could stand some 23 or so blocks away from the spawning pad and still receive all of the drops thanks to the hoppers that are here. And I feel like that's probably going to be a safe bet. I will probably build that a little bit further back, but then keep this ladder here just so that we are close to the farm and we can despawn anything that is there if we need it. Okay, this is near perfect timing. I'm just about done with the hopper chain here, which I figure is just going to come out to here. Oh gosh, I don't want to be shot by the skeleton. If the skeleton sees me, that's going to be a little bit dicey, but we can set up a chest here for collecting all of the drops from the mobs, which, as you can see, are now being pushed off the platform and should shortly, hopefully, die in the campfires there. To walk a little bit closer, yep, looks like everything is dying as planned. Perfect, perfect. That's sounding good to me. Music to my ears at this point. And now all I should need to do is build up a little AFK area over here. I think I'm far enough away from most of the platform that I don't need to worry too much about the distances at this point, but it would be nice not to be shot by skeletons every time that the platform spawns them. Okay, I think maybe about here should do. I haven't quite calculated the distance, but as long as we're between 23 and 32 blocks away from most of the farm, nothing is going to despawn, but everything is still going to be able to spawn inside of there. Last thing I really need to do here is set up a little wall and potentially a roof, although phantoms aren't really going to bother me down here. I'm just mainly thinking about that for the sake of my own security at this point, in case a spider gets out, for example. Once again, making sure that the roof here is made out of slabs as well. I can stay in here crouched and nothing is going to bother me while this farm runs. But it seems like we should be, yes, we're getting some drops in here already. A few torches from the spawning pad, a little bit of building material that I used to make the farm, but look at that, we have 6 sand already, and I personally call that a win. Thank you folks so much for watching this episode of the Skyblock Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, bye for now.